It is Sunday, March 15th. Welcome to the show. We are hearing positive developments coming out of Iran today. Suddenly, the Islamic Republic is open for an immediate ceasefire. Iran's foreign minister today saying we'd like to see an end to the war, but we need assurances. Assurances, he says, that Trump won't start dropping bombs again. What a change from just 72 hours ago. Also a complete 180 on the Strait of Hormuz, their strategy with the Strait, and the financial upside to this war. Is there a benefit even if the regime stays in power? We're going to look at new numbers on the White House's risk calculus.
When we talk about the Strait of Hormuz, which is such an important transit point for global trade.
We have not closed this strait. They are not coming themselves because of the insecurity which is there because of the aggression by the U.S.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is day 16 of Operation Epic Fury. How things change in a matter of a few days. 72 hours ago on Thursday, Iran's new not-so-supreme leader releasing his first and only statement, apparently saying that the Strait of Hormuz will stay closed to pressure the enemy and that all U.S. military bases in the Middle East must shut immediately. That the only way for this war to end, he said, is with the U.S. permanently out of the Persian Gulf. Well, fast forward to today, 3 days later, Iran's foreign minister saying we welcome any regional initiative that leads to a fair end to the war. Then a few hours later, saying Iran would like to see an end to the war, but we need assurances that Trump won't start dropping bombs again. Clearly shifting their stance, the rhetoric beginning to match their launch capacity. Take the UAE, Iran's number one target for missile and drone attacks. Iran's hit the UAE even more than they've hit Israel. Take a look at this. Iranian attacks falling to an all-time low against UAE over the last 24 hours, down to only 10 total launches. That's missile and drones combined. 10. Which means despite what we see on X, all the sensational headlines, the data showing Iran's capacity is entering a new low. Their strategy, folks, is to maintain enough launches to claim that they haven't given up entirely. They can't stop launching completely, but they don't want to send enough to inflict any meaningful damage. If they do, they risk all their missile launchers. Their objective here is survival. If they can hold out long enough for the U.S. to agree to a ceasefire, the regime may live to see another day. At the moment, a flotilla of Navy ships with 5,000 Marines heading to the Persian Gulf, including an amphibious ready group, an attached Marine expeditionary unit. An amphibious ready group typically includes an assault ship, 2 transport docks, and a big support vessel that carries the MEU, which is at minimum 2,200 Marines. A lot of people speculating the mission is to take Kharg Island, that this amphibious ready group is going after Kharg Island. Obviously, we don't know, but what we do know for sure is that they're going to be helping to secure the Strait of Hormuz. One way or another, the president says the Strait will reopen. It has to. And from the Iranian point of view, this means time is running out. This means checkmate. The clock's running out for the regime. Once they lose the Strait, the war's effectively over, which is why we've been hearing Democrats, legacy media, the usual suspects, the people screaming the loudest how the U.S. is losing the war. They're now pushing the White House to begin ceasefire talks. Seek a ceasefire while you still can. Undo the damage you caused. You still have an off-ramp. That's the kind of language that they're using. Look, at this point, the only way the Islamic Republic of Iran survives is if Trump agrees to a ceasefire. Fortunately, the president isn't taking the bait, not yet at least, rejecting all efforts to launch a ceasefire, writing this: the fake news media hates to report how well the U.S. military's done against Iran, which is totally defeated and wants a deal, but not a deal that I will accept. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Trump also telling NBC News today that Iran is ready to negotiate a ceasefire, but he's not ready to make a deal because the terms aren't good enough yet.
Good Sunday morning. With the war in Iran entering its third week, President Trump told me in a phone interview Saturday that Iran has been defeated militarily. He also said Tehran is ready to make a deal, but the terms aren't good enough yet, declining to say what those terms are. The president added that he is hearing the new supreme leader is dead, but did not provide evidence. And all eyes are on the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most vital shipping lanes for oil. Iran has all but shut it down, pushing oil prices over $100 a barrel.
Look, Iran made a critical mistake. They overplayed their hand in the Strait. They gave the world the impression that Iran controls the flow of energy, that they decide who's allowed to transit the Strait of Hormuz, hitting tankers from all sorts of countries. The right strategy would be only targeting U.S. and Israeli tankers. They didn't do that, though. On Thursday, Iran saying that no one's allowed to transit the Strait.
The
Strait of Hormuz will not be open to shipping. Not a single American Navy vessel will be allowed to enter the Persian Gulf. The presence of America in the Persian Gulf has been the main cause of insecurity over the past 50 years. It is not possible to establish security in the region without America's exit from the Persian Gulf.
Then, one day later on Friday, teasing out that they will work with other countries to be able to transit the Strait if they settle their transactions in yuan instead of dollars. That was Thursday, then Friday. What happened Friday night? After the markets closed, the U.S. strikes Kharg Island. President Trump warning them moments ago at my direction, the U.S. Central Command executed one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East and totally obliterated every military target in Iran's crown jewel, Kharg Island. Our weapons are the most powerful and sophisticated that the world has ever known, but for reasons of decency, I have chosen not to wipe out the oil infrastructure on the island. However, should Iran or anyone else do anything to interfere with the free and safe passage of ships through the Strait, I will immediately reconsider this decision. Well, Iran getting the message, recalculating their strategy today, their foreign minister saying the Strait of Hormuz is open. Anyone can pass except the U.S. and Israel. No more talk about intermediaries or transacting in yuan. Go ahead and pass. We won't stop you, which again is technically the right strategy for Iran to take.
When we talk about the Strait of Hormuz, which is such an important transit point for global trade,
we have not closed this strait. They are not coming themselves because of the insecurity which is there because of the aggression by the U.S.
Meanwhile, overnight, we've been able to see that an Iranian missile was able to get through Israeli air defenses, falling in Ramlah, the greater Tel Aviv area. Here's that video. Yeah, these missiles the Iranians have caused serious damage. Luckily, the hits are few and far between, 92% intercepted. We've also been able to see that an Iraqi militia used a drone to successfully strike the U.S. Embassy in Iraq yesterday, hitting a U.S. radar. The U.S. State Department telling Americans get out of the country immediately, releasing this security alert yesterday evening. U.S. citizens should leave Iraq now. We've also been able to see that Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency, basically state media, reporting 20 people have been arrested after being accused of transmitting location data on Iran's military and security assets, giving that data to Israel. Yes, Iranian citizens now sharing intel with the U.S. and Israel, phoning in coordinates. Even as small as 2 to 3 man groupings of besieged or IRGC forces are acceptable targets. Other local outlets reporting the arrests are ongoing, that it may be closer to 80 people arrested. That's what you call an operational insecurity, when your own people, your own citizens, are helping the attacking country. When that happens, you've got problems. Look, at this point, Iran has one card left, which they're playing, the Strait of Hormuz. Once the U.S. reopens it and secures it, the war's over. That's likely what President Trump is waiting for, this 4 to 6 week war plan that he laid out initially, likely concluding with the Strait of Hormuz and Kharg Island, at which point, if that is what happens, Iran has no logical choice but to unconditionally surrender. Is this easy to do? No, it's not. If you look at the Strait on a map, it's like the last place the U.S. military would want to go, would want to defend. There's high peaks lining the Iranian coastline. Look at this. It's a very difficult target to secure, which is why no U.S. president's ever tried before. The goal, though, from what we understand, the payoff Trump believes is worth the risk. Peter Navarro, Trump's trade advisor, explaining the payoff this week, how the energy market, he says, behaves like insurance markets. The greater the perceived risk, the greater the premium. The White House calculating Iran-related tensions under normal conditions, pre-war conditions, added an additional $5 to $15 per barrel to the price of crude. Apply that, they say, over a quarter century, the cumulative drain from an adversarial Iran approaches $10 trillion. Trump's conclusion, once the Iran threat is removed, the geopolitical risk premium collapses. Oil, the price of crude can collapse. We'll see what happens. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you real soon.